Welcome to Sweet Tea and Tacos. I'm Dave.
And I'm Jen.
And this week, well, first of all, it's been a while.
Yes, it's definitely been a while. And it seems like every time we record a podcast, we've had a major life change.
Mm-hmm.
So we are back in Mississippi.
Yeah.
And we've been here for about a year. So Texas was fun, but our daughter wanted to graduate from high school here. So we made it happen for her.
Yep. So anyway, we've had a lot of ideas to write down and things to do. But anyway, so we have some pet peeves, though, about restaurants.
Yeah, that's going to be our topic today.
So, if you're a foodie, I think, you eat out a fair amount. And you get pretty opinionated about restaurants.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a foodie, you definitely are evaluating the food, but I think foodies tend to, this is just my opinion, but we tend to be maybe a little bit more into the arts and just, we pay attention to kind of those details,
Yeah.
We're more observant, maybe more intuitive, and so it's more than just the food. It's
there's some restaurants.
The whole experience.
Yeah. You might go to a hole in the wall for the food, but, these are things that are just kind of restaurants in general, not apply to every restaurant, but,
Right. And we're not trying to restaurant bash.
No.
But it's just things that we've talked about. And, one of our dreams is possibly to own a restaurant one day. And it's sort of things that we've discussed that, we need to make sure if we had that, we don't ever want to do this or that,
Okay. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, good question. Well, how about you talk about your vegetable medley?
Okay. Yeah. So, and this came up for me, and I guess this pet peeve you would call the sides. Mm-hmm. Some restaurants you'll go and you can choose from these sides, and sometimes, there'll be something on the menu, and it comes with blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Vegetable of the day.
Right.
Well, I was looking for some restaurants in New Orleans. We were talking about going to New Orleans, and there's this one I'd heard about, and I wanted to. So I was looking on, Yelp and stuff, and looking at photos, and I was like, "This entree, wow, this sounds great." Mm-hmm. And then I looked at the picture, and it was just, you could tell, it was probably frozen vegetable medley. You could tell because the vegetables just looked. It was, broccoli and
those
baby
quote
carrots
unquote
and all this stuff. And I'm thinking,
carrots.
You put all this work into the entree,
yeah,
and then you just kind of threw something on the side.
Right.
And to me, it was very out of character for what when you read the description.
Right.
It's like, why are you even putting that on there?
Right.
Right.
And nothing wrong with vegetable medley, but like you say, if the meat or the entree is like what if it's oxtails or something? You need to put something that can kind of stand up with it.
Well, you would think if you're going to put all that work into the thought of the entree,
right?
And you're just throwing something,
right.
slapping
and then
something on the side.
Like either an afterthought, or
right?
Not even a thought. It's like, what can we put on this plate that's the cheapest cost? That's just gonna fill the space,
Yeah, it's a waste.
It is.
And there's a lot of places. It's just what doesn't even really, what's the side? There's one place we go to a lot, and one of the dishes, the side is this little corn and black bean mess. I don't know what you want to call it, but really,
Well, you can buy vegetable medley at the grocery store or at these big box stores in big bags and fix it at home. Like when you go out, you want something different than what you can just make for dinner, for a weeknight meal.
Yeah.
So
that's just me,
Yeah.
Like if it comes with stuff, to me, it's the whole, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. That's the whole experience,
Right. Exactly.
But I'm over there looking at it like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of is the same, or I guess the similar concept to one of our other pet peeves, which is the thing about dessert.
Desserts. We could drive down the road, and I could tell you what that restaurant's dessert menu would be, with maybe one or two exceptions. You're going to see a cheesecake.
Mm-hmm.
How many restaurants have a cheesecake on the menu?
At least around here, a lot. Of them do.
You're going to have probably a brownie
Some kind of brownie thing.
with maybe some ice cream.
Right.
You're going to have, now this one's controversial, bread pudding, because it could be really, really good, but it gets boring. You go to these, because I'll tell you, a lot of this is because they're sheet pans.
Right.
And now creme brulee is one you'll see on a lot of menus.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just like, none of that is imaginative.
No, not really. I mean, and look, we're not dissing this stuff.
Yeah.
And unlike vegetable medley, yes, some of those things take a little bit more time and
Yeah.
care for preparation, like say a creme brulee. But it does. They get boring. Now, if you're gonna always have a seasonal, say cheesecake
Right.
with some really cool toppings,
Yeah.
well, maybe that works. But
I'm not a cheesecake person.
it's just, well, I'm not really even either. But I mean, like our son,
Right.
he absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
He'll order it every time it's on a menu.
Right.
But I mean, I get it. These restaurants don't always have pastry chefs, you know, and it's just got to get done. So
Right.
they're probably, like you say, kind of going with the easiest method.
Yeah, but that's what's like disappointing. It's like you'll open the menu and there'll be all these really creative entrees and salads and appetizers, and then there's like the same three things for dessert that
Right.
you've seen on 12 other restaurant
Right.
menus in town.
Right. It
You know.
just gets kind of old.
Yeah.
And then my big complaint too is maybe there's dessert selection and there's absolutely nothing chocolate, which is a big no. You got to give people a chocolate
Yeah.
choice, or there's nothing that's dairy free.
Yeah.
You know, these days, I mean, you got to give people gluten free, dairy free, you know, whatever. I mean, you can't cater to
Right.
the nth degree, but like, come on. I mean,
And the other part too is you just don't have a creative option. I mean, what if somebody just wants to go out and meet somebody for dessert and coffee? You don't have
right.
too many options for that unless you're just going to go to like a fast food place or something, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you might be better off kind of going to a fast food place.
Yeah.
Just if you want simple coffee and whatever. And another thing is, you know, I love pie.
Yeah.
I just love pie, and at least around here, and it may be more of a regional thing. Like pies are very southern, but to wind up on a menu at a restaurant
Right.
where you go out to eat, there's not a lot of pie except for key lime. There's a lot of key
A
lime
lot of key lime.
and maybe lemon icebox, but you don't get like the seasonal pies very much.
Right.
You don't get like a lot of pecan pie or pumpkin pie or cherry pie or, you know.
Now, around here, there's one restaurant that's really known for their pecan pies. Have been on the menu forever.
Yes. And
The
it is
rest of it's
excellent.
excellent. The rest of their desserts, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Then there's another restaurant that has a lot of pies on their menu, which is we tend to order too many.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and they are really good.
fantastic.
But everything that restaurant
Yes,
does
it's really good.
is top notch.
But that's it. I mean, like 2 restaurants in this area that I could
Yeah.
tell you would have a decent dessert menu.
Yeah,
Maybe 2.
right. But they don't change them up. They
No.
don't change them up for the seasons very
Right.
much. And
And there's one restaurant that does the bananas Foster here
yeah,
in the entire, area
Yeah.
here, the biggest area in the state.
yeah. Which, if y'all don't know, Bananas Foster is a very New Orleans thing. It was started, I think, at Commander's Palace, maybe.
Yeah, one of the Brennans.
Probably run one of those Brennan's restaurants, but it's these cut up bananas that are flambéed, or it's like sautéed in, I think,
with alcohol.
brown sugar and some kind of liqueur. It makes this syrupy stuff, and then you eat it with ice cream.
Yeah.
It's a real kind of show. I mean,
It's okay.
they bring it to the table.
Right, they do
and,
table side, but
but it's fun.
But it's different. That's my point. I'm not necessarily. And the thing I was saying earlier about bread pudding is, I like bread pudding, but bread pudding gets very old, very quick.
Yeah.
I've had some stupid good bread puddings, and then
Some really bad
some
bread
really
pudding.
just
They just
it's
taste like
just bread.
mush.
Yeah, they just taste like
kind
mush.
of sweet mush, and
Yeah.
nah,
No.
that's
No.
not what I want to experience when
Or-
I go out.
Yeah, like the Bon Don, it was, a whiskey sauce with a little bit of bread pudding.
Yeah, that's a restaurant that, well, it's, I guess, no longer. It may come back at some point
Yeah,
in New
maybe.
Orleans because they had
Right.
they had sold it, and then somebody else bought it, and then there was a fire
Right.
and whatever. But it was one of our very, very favorite restaurants in New Orleans,
Yeah.
and they had the most delicious bread pudding.
Yeah. And then I had a friend, I was in Dallas recently, and a friend of mine took me out to dinner, and we went to this restaurant, and they have a just incredible bread pudding it was like with candied walnuts and this massive, of course it was a massive piece of bread pudding, homemade marshmallow on the top. And it was a killer dessert. I mean,
Yeah.
just unbelievable.
And something like that, I've never even heard of. You
Yeah.
know, it was just, it sounded
It's
new
not
and
just bread
creative
pudding.
and different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with whiskey sauce. I can't tell you how many places around here have it.
Oh, and what my pet peeve? This is just
Another
me.
one.
White chocolate bread pudding. Ugh, no, there's no contrast.
Yeah. Now, I did work at a place where we did a white chocolate bread pudding, but it had dark chocolate in there as
Okay.
well.
See, if you got
Yeah.
something else for contrast.
And I think it has
but the white chocolate
raisins
is too
and
mild
nuts.
of a flavor, and then the
Yeah.
bread is too mild,
Right.
and there's
You
no
gotta have the
contrast.
contrast, right.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. And then the other thing, there's not many restaurants that do this. I know of one in this area. But you can order half orders of the dessert,
Yeah.
which is nice.
That is really, really nice.
Yeah.
And of course, you could always share
Right.
in the past, but sometimes you don't want to share. Like, either you just literally don't want to share,
Right.
or you don't want to share germs. Like when
Yeah.
COVID and this and that, and all
Right.
that's starting to pick back up. You just need to have your stuff separate, and
Yes.
that's really nice because then you get your own.
And then you're not eating this massive meal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, desserts I think are an underrated or an underappreciated portion of the menu, and I think a lot of people, I'll be honest, maybe don't even order dessert because they're bored with it.
Right. They've
You
had
know?
that whatever bread pudding or
Yeah.
that whatever cheesecake too
Right.
many times. It's like, been there, done that. Nah.
And creme brulee, I mean,
I do like creme brulee.
I know you like it, but-
it needs stuff on top. It needs a bunch of berries. It needs a coulis. It
Right,
needs some
something.
kind of really nice sauce.
yeah.
And I mean, there's a restaurant around here that does a decent bread pudding, and I've ordered. I mean, not bread pudding, creme brulee.
Right.
I've ordered it. Nothing wrong with it, but it'll come with like literally 2 berries.
Right.
And it's like, no, that's
And it's
that's
just
not
kind of
enough.
this vanilla custard.
Yeah.
And it's, maybe a bite or two has a palate cleanser, but a whole one is kind of boring,
Yeah.
So, all right, another pet peeve, this is one of yours.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a biggie for me. Is when I don't know how to explain it exactly, but basically, bad tables at the restaurant.
Yeah.
And inevitably we'll go out and we'll get one of those bad tables.
It's something about us.
It's like
They look at us.
right by the kitchen, or
Right.
in this just crazy traffic area or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, And I'm just a big believer that with a little bit of forethought, and it's got to come at the planning stages when the architect is involved,
Right.
but that there should not be any bad tables
Right.
in a restaurant,
Right.
Unless maybe it was some other space and then they just had to convert it.
Well, still,
But-
you can figure out a way to,
Yeah, I mean, probably so.
Mm-hmm.
Because who wants to sit right there by the kitchen? You know,
the door flapping every.
that's not a pleasant experience.
No.
Again, that's not why we go out,
Right.
right?
Right.
We can experience our own kitchen right here,
Yep.
and somebody in it. I want an out of the kitchen,
Right.
sort of just pleasant
Right.
experience when I go out to eat.
Yeah.
So,
And then it's funny, we were talking about this and kind of getting ready. You know, it used to be, and this is my favorite restaurant. I love the food at this restaurant. But it's gotten to the point where this restaurant's really consistent. And that's a low bar. I mean,
yeah.
hey,
I mean,
this one doesn't mess up often.
exactly. Like
That's really sad.
Used to, you could just count on restaurants being consistent,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
now it's like
It just
a
seems
great
like
restaurant if
yeah.
it's just consistent.
Right, yeah. We've had at least, 3 good meals there in a row. It's consistent, I mean, and I'll be honest, there was this one the other day, and, we came up. It was way busier than it had been since previous times we've been there.
When we go, we usually go on a Sunday afternoon after church.
Yep.
It's not too far from our church.
Yep.
And we get right in
Yep.
and get excellent service and excellent food. So it was what,
So it was
25-minute wait.
It ended up being longer, but they said it was a 25-minute wait. And then when we checked in, they said, hey, we had a lot of call-outs today.
Which I didn't know what that meant, but you said it means people calling in sick.
They called in sick. And so, but they were trying, there was a lot more people coming to this restaurant than we had seen previously, so maybe everybody found out about it. But
Yeah.
they kept loading these tables up, and they were trying to get everybody seated. And I mean, part of me appreciates that. Part of me also says, you're already understaffed.
Right.
And I'll be honest, it was not good.
No.
It was
Number
really
one,
not good.
they never brought us bread to the table,
Yeah.
which is a standard part of their protocol. They
Right.
bring the bread and the dipping
Yeah.
oil. We never got the bread.
Yeah, my food was awful.
Your food was awful.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was
The
just,
waiter was kind of, in a dither because it was so crazy, and you could tell.
I mean, he was a sweet
So
guy,
nice guy, but-
and he apologized, and we
Yeah.
did not give him a hard time for it at all
No.
because it wasn't his fault.
But to me, of course, now we're not in the restaurant business.
no,
We're not restaurateurs.
we don't know what that's like.
But I'll be honest, I would have said, if I have 5 waiters and these 5 waiters can handle this many tables, and I now only have 3 waiters, well, I'm only going to handle 3 waiters worth of tables. And
Right.
then I'm going to tell these people, well, then the wait time's going to go up, and
Right.
maybe I lose money that day.
Right.
But
the people that you serve,
Right.
serve well.
and because I was telling you, I'd saw this thing the other day, and I'm sure I'm not quoting it right, but it was something like, if somebody has a bad experience, they tell 100 people, and if they have a good experience, they tell 5,
Right.
whatever,
Right.
and it's not right. They should tell 100 people that had a great experience, but I feel like you have a lot more to lose long term from going in there and saying, well, at least 3 people are going to work twice as many tables, and
Right.
the service is going to go down, and the
Right.
food quality is going to go down because whatever.
Right.
And yeah, so
Well, and see, we've been to that restaurant multiple times, and we know they can do a good job.
Yeah.
They are, like you say, typically consistent.
Yep.
But what if that had been our very first experience?
We wouldn't have come back.
We would have probably said no
nope,
more.
not going back.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't
Because
love
it's
it.
too expensive to go out to eat these days and have a bad experience.
Yeah,
With the
absolutely.
economy the way it is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah. And then another one, and this is kind of an interesting, it really depends on the restaurant, but I'll be honest, we've had bad experiences with this now these days with your debit card.
Oh yeah.
So I'll be honest, I really like when they come and they have the device and you can pay right there. Now, there's a couple of restaurants, high-end restaurants, I don't worry about my debit card going away.
Sure.
But there's some restaurants that we've been to, you never would have thought that would have happened there, and it happened there multiple times.
Yep.
So,
Where your debit card
Yeah.
got compromised, and
Yeah.
we knew it was that
right.
restaurant because, well, we won't go into all of the
Right.
reasons why, but we just knew.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's been a good game changer in that ability to field those kind of devices out, but easier for smaller businesses.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like, okay, I mean, and I don't know, we might be giving this restaurant away. I mean, I'm not saying this is the one it happened with, but I'm just saying there is a restaurant in town where they have kind of this rewards program, and you have two cards that need to be swiped. You have your payment card, and then there's sort of this kind of rewards card that looks like a credit card thing.
Yeah.
And so I guess they have to take that card
Right.
and do it at the transaction place, and so they have to take it.
Right.
But then there's all this stuff that can happen.
I don't like giving my card to somebody where I can't see it.
I know.
Very few places.
Because it can get cloned and just,
Well, and there's and I mean, it's not just restaurants, but I mean, I checked into a hotel not too long ago, and they had the card reader on top of the desk, and the guy was like, "Can I take your card and swipe?" But I'm thinking, no, it's right there, bro.
Yeah.
And so I don't like going away. I don't like it going out of my sight at all.
Well, there's just too many fishy things that can happen too easily these days.
So that's I like restaurants, but also, a higher end restaurant, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
But
this restaurant was high enough end.
Yeah, it is kind of thought of on the upper end.
I mean,
it's
thought of as, hey, if we're going to go out to eat, and especially if we're going to eat this category of food, hey, let's just go to so-and-so.
Because, So, that leads me to another pet peeve of mine that relates to being from California, relates to living in Texas. And I think that, to me, I think it's kind of interesting that, Americans, I think, are seen as a lot of times having poor tastes in certain things, like they don't really know what real Mexican food is, or they don't know what real Chinese food is, or they don't know what real whatever is. I'll be honest, I don't think that's Americans' fault. That's the fault of the people opening restaurants.
Well, and look, here's the thing, is America is a melting pot.
Right.
I mean, we're not any more American than anybody else. It's just, I think that sometimes restaurateurs assume that people who have grown up in America maybe either haven't traveled or haven't had whatever good food in the,
So we're going to water it down.
The original country. Right. And so, let's just give them this quote unquote Americanized version, which is not the authentic version. And we're like, no, give us that authentic version.
Right.
We want what the grandmother cooks for Sunday dinner. Come on, don't give us this just kind of watered down stuff.
So I think that's the fault of the people opening these restaurants. I mean, you go to Texas and you have some amazing Tex-Mex food, and New Mexico, amazing. I was in Phoenix, Arizona. This crazy good Oaxacan restaurant. I'll be honest. You open that restaurant here in Mississippi, people will go to it, and it'll be busy. And
as long as it's good food.
It doesn't have to be a watered down American version of it.
Okay, what's Oaxacan? Well, they'll find out.
They'll figure it out
real quick, and if it's good, they'll go back.
Yeah, same thing. We were in West Texas, and we found this crazy good noodle place, and our daughter and I went, and it was fabulous. And they made the noodles right in front of you. Here it is in the middle of nowhere, Texas. I think it's just you can open a restaurant, be authentic to what you're doing, and we talked to a restaurateur about this last year. Be authentic.
Be authentic,
and people will come to it.
Right. Don't just do some food service idea of what that cuisine is. Yeah,
it's just. And I mean, you drive down a mile from our house, and there's, I'll be honest, probably a half a dozen, if not more, Americanized Mexican restaurants that serve the exact same food. And it's boring.
It's just boring. There's not a lot of imagination.
Yeah, and it's just frustrating.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah.
That and chicken. There shouldn't be a chicken alive on the planet anymore after how many chicken strip places are.
Oh, yeah. We are getting a lot of fast food right in our area, and a lot of fast food chicken. Yeah. It's kind of.
I think within 100 yards there's 4 places.
Oh my word! It's
stupid.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, Well, is that everything?
You know, I don't know. I probably have some more. So what are some things that are you really like, you really appreciate about a restaurant? Not just the food.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, okay. I really appreciate when the wait staff has been trained well for service. Like that he or she knows that you serve from the left and you take away the plates from the right. And when they come and they're going to refill, say, your iced tea.
I know this is a big one for you.
Beverage, that they do not touch the top of the glass.
Right.
Like, I mean, some people use straws, but not everybody does.
Yeah.
And I don't want your nappy fingers on the top of my glass, right? A very well-trained server is not going to do that.
I remember there's a chain of steak restaurants called Ruth Chris.
Yeah.
So when it had opened up,
we had one in our area.
And they had one a long time ago, and then they closed. And
it kind of closed and opened, closed and opened.
But we went, and this is where I'm kind of like, you feel like you're just not
fancy enough.
You're not fancy enough,
or dressed up enough.
Because we sit down and they take the napkins, and I'm like, what? Because they were white napkins and we had dark clothing on, and they brought us black napkins.
Oh, so it wouldn't get on our clothes.
Yeah, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
I'm not fancy. I did not know that.
And that was the first time that we had ever seen a crumber.
Yeah.
It was like this little tool that they would kind of rake along the tablecloth and to get the breadcrumbs off.
And apparently I was so astonished by it that she brought us one when we left.
Yeah, like she gave us one to take home.
I'm like, I'm really showing how uncouth I am, I guess.
No, but those kind of restaurants that have just all the attention to detail are becoming a rarity these days. You know, maybe not everywhere, but in our area, like it used to be very standard. If you went out to eat, you could expect the tablecloths and all that. You know.
Yeah. Now everybody has paper.
Yeah.
I know it's easier for them.
Well, and then the kids can color on it.
Yeah, our kids
loved that.
They loved that. They'd leave like masterpieces.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But
it kept them occupied, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I do.
Because I think, and we've talked about this on another podcast, it is important to take your kids out to eat when they're young.
Yeah.
So they just know how to act. They know how to order. They get exposure to, just different types of foods, and it's not just all kind of like macaroni and cheese and chicken fingers.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know. It doesn't cost more, I don't believe.
Not a whole lot.
To do things the right way.
Oh, yeah.
Teach your servers right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Teach people to do things the right way. And our society, I don't know. You can get me bummed out again. But come on, people. Let's have a more interesting dessert menu. You know what? That would be a huge deal.
Yeah.
No more vegetable medley.
Yeah.
Let's have some other ideas for dessert.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's our pet peeves. I'm sure we have more.
Probably.
We'll think about them later.
We've been chewing on those for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's good to be back.
It is.
I can't promise you when we'll have another one out there.
And another year.
Episode.
And
Hopefully it won't be another.
Won't be
and
another
I guarantee you that we won't have just moved from another state. We're home to stay.
We're done. We're done moving for a while.
Yes.
So
we had our adventure.
Yeah. So if you've got some restaurant pet peeves that maybe we didn't mention or we didn't think about, or you have a counterpoint to that, hey, send us an email, post a comment, etc., etc. If you like this podcast, share it. If you don't like it, share it anyway.
Aww.
I'm kidding. But yeah, and give us a rating.
We hope you
like it anyway. So, those are our restaurant pet peeves and some things we like other than just the food, because that's a given.
Right.
You got to like the food to go there. And there you go. So for Sweet Tea and Tacos for this week, I'm Dave.
And I'm Jen. Thanks for listening.